My name is Patrick Prendergast. I'm the chairman of Kenilworth Exploration Limited, an Australian mineral exploration company. In Kenilworth, we have an interest in 6 exploration licenses located in the Lacan Fold Belt region between Cobar and Bairoch in central west New South Wales. The Kenilworth licenses are located in a unique geological area in New South Wales, and this area is home to a number of world-class mining companies who produce high-grade ore of copper, silver and gold. To enhance our mineral exploration capabilities, we have entered into a joint venture and management agreement with an established mineral exploration company, Thomson Resources, an Australian publicly listed company. With this joint venture and management agreement, Kenilworth Exploration gains access to equipment, skilled personnel with experience and years of know-how in mineral exploration.
John Lee is my name. I'm an exploration geologist and director of Kenilworth Exploration Limited. My experience is extensive in the mineral and exploration fields, and I consider that the areas held by Kenilworth Exploration have significant potential for the discovery of significant resources of gold, copper, lead zinc deposits.
To determine the value of our exploration licenses, Kenilworth employed the international consultancy company SRK Exploration Services to carry out an evaluation of 3 of our exploration licenses. They returned a minimum valuation of $3.5 million and a median valuation of $19 million. A full copy of this valuation report is available for your review.
We believe that the area is infrastructure ready. There is significant road and air access. The area is serviced by significant towns, and environmentally the area offers excellent potential in view that the land holdings are large and ground access is excellent.
I am very pleased that John Lee is joining our board. I have known and worked with John for 12 years. In that period on Kenilworth, we have drilled 24 RAB holes and 1 diamond drill hole to 600 metres. The data generated has confirmed that we have mineralisation in this area. Also joining the board is Peter O'Neill, who brings extensive corporate governance and business management expertise to our team. He is also a director of 3 other public Australian companies.
Good day to everyone. Patrick Prendergast here, Chairman of Kenilworth Exploration. It's the 1st of July 2013. And thank you for joining the webinar with us today. And I just want to make, first of all, I want to make an announcement on behalf of Kenilworth, is that we have successfully extended our 3 ELs for another 3 years. And that was successfully done last week in association with Thomson Resources. Now, I'm going to walk through a number of slides, and you've seen my video at the beginning. And the whole idea of the webinar is basically for you at the end so I can answer questions and fill in the gaps that maybe pieces I'm not dealing with. So initially, our asset value and the joint venture. The asset value was calculated independently by SRK. They're an international geological valuation company. They just looked at our 3 ELs, which are owned 100% by Kenilworth. They did not review or value the 3 50% ELs, which we have with Thomson Resources. So our valuation is very conservative. And it was minimum valuation was 3.5 million, and the medium was 19.1. then we've listed on the Bitfunder as a market cap of 5.4, and we're going out for 3 rounds of funding at $950,000 each round. Now, to strengthen the team, Kenilworth Exploration did a joint venture with Thomson Resources. Now, Thomson Resources is a mineral exploration company, very top-tier geologists, headed up by Owen Rottery, and they're quoted on the Australian exchange as ASX TMZ. And we have 2 agreements with Thomson Resources, a joint venture agreement which incorporates 3 of their ELs, and those 3 ELs or exploration licenses are adjoining our own at Byrock. So that's why it was very important to get those 3, and also to bring in the expertise of Thomson. And then there was a management agreement whereby Thomson Resources will provide geology expertise and monitoring of all the services we're doing. I just want to explain a little bit here, because Kenilworth Exploration is a virtual company. As such, it is a small 2 people in an office. It has its accountant, its solicitor, and it has its ELs. Rather like a company with patents and its development. Everything outside of that, we rely on Thomson Resources' expertise in monitoring, and then we bring in consultants, such as the company to do the electromagnetic scanning. So, looking at the objectives, here is the fundraise is to offer, we're using to fund exploration activities. We have, over the last 12 years, since we purchased the properties at Byrock, and we've invested $2 million into geological reports, etc., discovered that certainly serious indications of mineralization. And we've done a lot of geological work there. And the advice from the fastest way to move forward would be to do electromagnetic surveys on our ELs so that we can locate the mineralization. And that's the reason we're going out for the funding. And that's why it's a very focused, a very time-limited operation. We have the company, we have the quotes, we have the coordination being carried out by Thomson, and that electromagnetic survey will immediately, over a 3 to 4 week period, pinpoint on our ELs the location of the mineralization zones. And the funding will also allow us to fund the joint venture work with Thomson Resources. Next slide. This is the team within Kenilworth. Again, it's a virtual company, but there you see 3 members of the family, my 2 brothers, Leo and Eamon. Both of them, Eamon full-time working in mining and exploration. Leo had coordinated all the work in Kenilworth from the year 2000. The main geologist there is John Lee, a very experienced man in relation to the geology of Byrock and this whole Lacan Valley area, Lacan Fold Belt area. And David Benning, who's come on board with us because he gave us a lot of advice on how to find mining companies interested in what we're going to have as a reserve. So following the EM and following our boreholes and our full round of funding, we will be in a position then with a new valuation to approach other mining companies quite larger than ourselves. And this is where David Benning has an expertise in being able to approach and having contacts in that area. So these are the risks we run. Like any company, there's risks in everything. And there's an economic risk, resource estimate incorrect. Let's say we do the EMs and we find very little mineralization. That's a possibility. But it's also one that we've calculated very clearly. We anticipate to be in a position to multiply our value, not decrease our value. And that's the reason we're going out for this funding. And that's the reason we're breaking it down into 3 rounds. The first round allows us to do our EMs very quickly and therefore come back with a new valuation to the shareholders. And then with greater confidence, we can do the second round and the third round to both do our boreholes and to really exploit the resource that we know we have. Okay, we're relying on key personnel. That's for definite. We're relying on both Thomson Resources' key personnel and on the subcontracting companies, because we do not have in-house expertise working day to day in geology. We have drilling unsuccessful. That's highly unlikely because we'd be subcontracting that out. And the joint venture risk, well, our joint venture is with Thomson Resources, and the only problem there would be if Thomson Resources were to fold or something, which highly unlikely. So there's our main risks. Our main risk is that the EMs, when we do the electromagnetics, do not return a major mineralization zone as we anticipate. Next slide, please. So we have a high asset value. As I explained before, the minimum value there is 3.5 million, and that's a very conservative estimate because SRK only valued our 300% owned ELs. They did not value the 3 that we own 50% of, which is owned by Thomson and ourselves. So we have an appreciation to happen there anyway. Now the EM studies, the electromagnetic study, will be over all 6 ELs. So we should have a substantial increase in value. Kenilworth Exploration has no debts. It has basically been run since 2006 as a family investment company. We invested the money. We did not spend money or run up debts in this. We did a number of geological reports. I think there's 8 geological surveys carried out. They were all independently and privately funded. Our boreholes, our RAB samples, all of that have been paid for. The company does not have a debt. So therefore, that's a positive thing. The money we're bringing in from this round on Bitfunder is exclusively going to subcontractors for that work to be carried out and for us to be able to report back in a very fast and efficient manner to show that the value is added and we're appreciating in value. And we have our strong exploration capability with a joint venture with Thomson Resources. Okay. Now, we're moving forward. As I said earlier, we're doing our ELs, the EMs. The whole idea here is that we want to use HeliTerm, which is an AEM system. It provides the highest power for deep target detection and is the only commercially available system available in Australia or anywhere in the world, which is high cost. It certainly is high cost. We'll be spending the best part of $460,000 on the subcontracting company, which is Fuego Airborne Surveys in Australia, and they can do this work in 3 to 4 weeks. But it is extremely, I cannot emphasize how important it is. Within 4 weeks, we will have data showing us the length, the breadth, and the depth of our mineralization. And that fast forwards our exploration and our valuation light years. I mean, really, it puts us from where we are at the moment at 19 million. I hope to be able to report back to shareholders that we're north of 70 million. And that would be from an independent valuation company like SRK. So that's what we're doing with the money. And we're using the Bitfunder exchange as a new method of doing crowdfunding. It is a way whereby we are on an exchange which is not reportable to and not damaged by any international changes in interest rates or bonds or anything else. This exchange is on its own. We approached it really as the first company to go out here with a real mining project. The reason we did that was for 2 interests. We know we're going to appreciate value way north of 100 million. All our shares are on Bitfunder. So nobody is outside of Bitfunder, not even the principals. And we know we're going to appreciate in that. And no matter what storms come in the other markets, the ASX or NASDAQ, etc., this will sit as a separate standalone exchange. And we are basing value on real assets that we're going to actually determine in the ground. Now, world events may change. I mean, There may be a slowdown in China. There may not be a big demand for reserves of copper and gold. But Kenilworth and its shareholders will have that asset appreciated and in the ground, and we are quite confident we can sell that on to larger mining companies looking and actively looking for new resources. Okay, so I'd like to accept any questions from people and do my best to answer them, and if I can't answer them fully, I'll get back to you by email. It's a very good opportunity. I'm just looking to see how we need to educate people, because the Bitfunder exchange is new. People normally look at mining Bitcoins. We're looking to mine gold, copper, and silver. And so therefore, I need to do a good educational promotion thing. We've been on Bitfunder for 1 month. It has not really, moved too quickly. So we have to get out, and it's our fault. We have to get out there and educate people of that this is a real opportunity in the real world, and it stands up to due diligence. The time frame for all, if the time frame depends a little bit. We've been a month out on the exchange. We've raised 216 Bitcoins. I need to get approximately 7,000 Bitcoins. So we're going to give it all of July, and we're going to do as much as promotion as possible to contact people who have Bitcoins, who are interested in this. And at the end of July, we'll see where we can go, where we can press the button on doing our electromagnetic survey. As I said earlier, it's about 4 weeks from the minute you press the button to getting the results back from the electromagnetic scanning. It'll take about another 4 weeks for independent assessment and valuation report. We can't really start that until I pass a figure of about $300,000. There is a plan B for Kenilworth Exploration. We are talking to high net worth individuals who may not have Bitcoins, but they would be interested in this sort of exploration. And I really want to keep it within the Bitcoin exchange. And there will be a fallback plan B if at the end of July, early August, we're not really convincing people on the Bitcoin forum to invest. But I do think we can do it. I do think we can answer all questions, and it's a very transparent company. Because it's virtual, it is really very easy to be transparent. And because everyone in Bitcoins is very savvy on internet, we can have access to what we're using the funds on. In fact, we can have access to the heli term data, even if somebody is interested in it, because we want to make it a new type of company whereby the investors and the shareholders have direct access to what's happening in it and can see how it's going. We believe it's going to appreciate in value, and we want you to come in with us to look at that value as it appreciates. So I'd say give us a month to get past our critical mass, which is about $300,000, and a month following that to have our readings back on our mineralization zones. Any other questions? Somebody typing in here. What is it saying in there? The company and the board of directors decided to stay within the Bitcoin exchange because we believe that we have a very good resource, and we're going to climb north of $100 million, and that this exchange can give us security into the future, no matter what storms take place in the financial worlds and the different exchanges. We know Bitcoin will eventually hold its value, and our assets in the ground will hold their value. So that's why we're sticking with Bitcoins, and we're going to make it work. And I think all the board are behind me in this, and we know we're the first out into this Bitcoin exchange with real asset in the real world. And I think it'll stand to us in a year or two. This Bitcoin exchange and our valuation will hold true. Yes, there's somebody writing in here. Understanding is that if you're unable to raise the required funds, the company will what? Oh yes, no. What we're doing is I'm approaching high net worth individuals who are interested in this type of opportunity, and we are going to bring in that investment either as loan to the company or as an investment through Bitcoins. But we're staying on the Bitcoin exchange to get our EMs done. Oh, no, we're not taking that big of a leap. I mean, we're going forward. It's a very personal family thing to us. Kenilworth Exploration, is 12 years of all our money going into it to see that we would do it right. We're going to do this right. It's going to go north of 100 million valuation anyway, and we wanted to have it in a safe place, and we also want to be successful at selling this to the Bitcoin community and to allowing us. We'd be very proud to be the first real mining company to fully fund ourselves and be present on the Bitfunder exchange. Yes, the webinar is being recorded for future listening, and I'm trying to do as many questions to people anywhere who have Bitcoins interested in getting questions answered on this. So I'm doing, I think, a few YouTube interviews, radio interviews, etc. Anything that will get this out to people and get the full picture to them, so they can do their due diligence. They can check out the ELs. They can check out the mining reports. I think we're trying to do as much as I can. We have 2 people full-time employed to answer questions, to make everything available on the net, all our old geological reports, everything, so that people see the full 3-dimension of this. I think I'm better placed, actually, with the mining company than a lot of other companies coming to the Bitfunder exchange, because in mining, you have a resource, you have your exploration license. There's nothing really proprietary in patents or formulae or anything else. I mean, it's really geology. It's getting out and finding out, paying for the surveys and finding out, do you have the metal resource? What's the metal? Analyze it in the lab, do your boreholes, and find out what you have. It's very easy for us to be open to shareholders and to be above board, because really there's no proprietary data here, except that we have a resource. We're quite confident about it. We find out how much it is, how extensive it is, and what it's composed of, what is copper, gold, or silver, the proportions, and the number of quantities of millions of tons or thousands of tons. That type of thing is what we need, and we need to give it to people who give us back an independent valuation. So we're better placed, actually, than a lot of companies to go out and try and raise funding. I'm answering this question now. If the surveys are positive and we have an increase in valuation, our next round of funding, our next 2 rounds of funding actually, is for boreholes. Now what happens is you see the shadow in the ground, it's X number of kilometers long and X number of Y number of kilometers wide. What we have to do then is the geologists decide to bore so many boreholes at certain depths in certain parts of that shadowed zone. And then you take up the rock sample, the core sample, and you analyze that. And that will take us about 2 to 3 months. And then from that, you do an analysis of the reserve of metal and the type of metal you have. So we're talking about probably a 3 to 4 month period before we'd know. First of all, the EM gives us the shadow in the ground, where we go. Then you do 2 months of boreholes. And then following that, you have a calculation of the quantity of metal or minerals, let's say copper. We'll just take copper, so that you know how many tons of copper is in the reserve. And that gives you then a new valuation and something quite definite to go to other companies to sell. So we're looking at, conservatively, you're looking at maybe a 6 months process of the boreholes, doing a standard, it's standard in the industry. It's a number of samples. They're like biopsies, and then you come back and you calculate from that the amount of ore that you have available for sale. Then Kenilworth will go out, and that's where David Benning comes in. We go out to the other companies that normally extract this ore from the ground, and we say, well, we have so many million tons of copper or lead or zinc or gold, and we actually do a deal with them they buy the rights then to take it out of the ground. That's where Kenilworth comes into an income stream, because they will pay us so much up front, and they'll pay us so much as they take it out of the ground. And that's where we basically get a major return for investors and all our shareholders. And any other questions, or if you think of anything after this webinar, just drop me an email, patrick.prendergast@me.com, and I'll get back to you, because I think the whole secret of getting this investment in at the first round, so we can prove ourselves that we're real and that we can up this valuation with the electromagnetics, is education and communication to people. I really want to get to as many people with Bitcoins as possible to explain the company, the concept, and what we can do. And then following the first round, which is 950,000, to report back and show that we can perform. If there's any other questions here? Oh, is it? Oh, yeah, the current volatility, if BTC were to... Well, I'm just looking at this here, the current volatility of Bitcoins were to drop drastically, what could our plan be? Well, our plan is to raise the money with Bitcoins. But of course, if the Bitcoin was to go very low, well, that would require us to, again, that's plan B, where we're talking to high net worth individuals that can, I really have to get to the electromagnetic surveys. I have to get those done out of question of building value. I don't believe that it'll stop us. We will stay on the Bitcoin exchange. We will still operate in Bitcoins, but we will do our EMs. I think long term, the Bitcoin will actually appreciate. So therefore, we're going to stick with it. It may have its bad days because there's not enough of volume out there. And we just got to go through this rough patch with Bitcoins and get through it. I mean, that's it. We see it long term appreciating. Like gold is in a bad spot, so is Bitcoins. We don't see that as a short, that's not. We're going to see it long term. It's going to be appreciating. It's going to appreciate like the resource in Kenilworth. So we'll stick with the Bitcoins. We might need a few more of them, but we'll certainly be working, as I said, with high net worth individuals to bring in the kind of critical mass of about 300,000 to get our EMs done. But we'll still be on the Bitfunder exchange. No, only we're changing the Bitcoins. I'm answering a question here. Are you changing Bitcoins to straight away or when you're ready to go ahead? No, when we're ready to go ahead. Not that we have too many of them at the moment. In a month, if you look up the Bitfunder exchange, you'll see we had 216.37 Bitcoins, which is equivalent to $21,637. That's okay, but we've got to get that passed. So we need to do 10 times that this month, and that's our target. We really have to get it up to 2,000 Bitcoins, 3,000 Bitcoins this month, and that's why I'm really going to make an effort to talk to as many people who have Bitcoins and are looking to invest them, because we need to get past that critical volume. Okay, a person coming in here with an idea to ask Butterfly Labs. We're also doing an ad today. I think it's going out in the Bitfunder magazine. I did an interview for them 2 weeks ago, and we're putting out an ad in that as well. And I'll follow up here with your suggestions, because we need to get out to as many people as possible. I had a person phone from China looking for information on it, and I was trying to find a way of putting a Chinese ad out because they were interested in mineral exploration in Australia, and that's something we have got to follow up on. Okay. I'll be doing more webinars. We'll put them up on the website. I'm also going to be putting up our new 3-year licenses. And we want to be as interactive as possible. Okay, I'll end this webinar now, not unless you have any more questions. And thanks for for bearing with me. I hope I explain things as best I can. There's nothing hidden about it. Everything, if you want copies of stuff and everything we have, it's there. And so you can make your own decision on investment. All right, I'll thank everyone. And okay, thank you very much.